say. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
The first goal of any sportsman is to become your national champion of your sport. It's a first step towards world champion or Olympic gold or whatever it is your sport considers the pinnacle. Speedway, it seems, is different. Even during COVID, we were able to crown a British champion. Not this year, though. Now, they knew it was going to rain, but, well, it's Manchester after all, but let's mess about with long breaks and even longer parades, and if we don't crown a champion, let's just not bother. Only in Speedway.
There you go.
Okay,
There you go. There you go. Much better with your mic turned up.
So, am I being a bit harsh?
Not particularly, I don't think.
Okay.
I think it's another case of, once again, not British Speed not doing enough to dispel the suggestion that it's all planned on the back of a cigarette pack.
Yeah.
Is it?
Bit like this show.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but we don't have any room left on the back of the cigarette packet when we
No.
planned. I think they might have a bit of room.
Well, this is it, so.
But yeah, it seemed like it was shaping up, from what I've been told, into quite a good meeting.
I mean, right from the first race, Chris Harris obviously did what Chris Harris does, missed the gate, battled all the way through to win the race.
From last to first.
Yeah, superb ride. And it was shaping up to be a good competitive meeting. You know, got to heat 12. Tom Brennan and Chris Harris and Dan Bewley joint leaders on 8 points. Danny King and Scott Nichols, who had ridden particularly well on 7. And then the rain came. Now they would have known the forecast. I mean,
they were talking about it on the.
well, people on the BSF were posting, in the morning that the forecast wasn't very good. Now, for me, the logical thing to do in that sense would have been just to not skip the parade, just get on with the meeting. Now, if you watch the Speedway Nations on Saturday, they rattled straight through the meeting because of the weather conditions. And Phil Morris actually did a TV interview and said that they had told all the TV people they were going to, because of the forecast, they were going to go straight through the meeting, no breaks, nothing like that. Now, I don't really understand why that didn't happen on Monday.
It's British Speedway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what time did they cancel it in the end?
I think it must have been about 8:30, maybe going on for 9 o'clock.
Right. So they could have done more than what, 8
Well, if they hadn't had all those
12
gaps,
heats.
they could have probably got to about 6. They could have probably got at least another 4 heats on there, and then 16 heats. Then you've completed, well over half of the meeting by that stage. So
you can possibly think about declaring a result.
that's right. I mean, the other thing that concerns me a little bit about this is the fact that is this now going to set a precedent, because the regulations were that if a meeting didn't get past heat 12, that meeting didn't get past heat 12, they would declare the results, but they obviously decided to sort of overrule that. Now, the next time we have a league meeting and it gets to heat 13 and it suddenly rains and the meeting gets called off and the team who's losing, their manager or promoter, kicks up on fuss and says, well, you voided the British final, why can't you void this meeting?
It'll be interesting, but I think it's actually in the rule book at Heat 10, isn't it? You can declare a result.
Well, I think it was in the rule book about Heat 12 for this meeting.
Interesting.
So
Interesting. Well, we've got a fair few bits and pieces coming up. David James says, British Championship doesn't mean anything anymore. As for giving Ellis the wild card, it's ludicrous.
Can I just say something, by the way, about Adam Ellis? Now, I mean, to be fair to Adam, he looked embarrassed. He looked a little bit embarrassed when he was handed the wildcard race jacket. I mean, you look at the down there. I mean, he hadn't had a very good start to the meeting at all. I mean, he wasn't quite stone last, but he was near enough. He'd only scored 1 point in his first 3 races. But some of the criticism and abuse that he's taken on social media because of the decision
it's not his fault.
It's not. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, there's an argument that he won the British Championship last year, and of course there wasn't a Cardiff, so maybe he's earned his chance in that sense.
That's a good point, actually.
But that's on last season's form. He hasn't been in fantastic form this season. I don't think. I don't think he was in great form for Birmingham during his spell there.
He was okay. He showed bits and pieces, didn't he? Yeah. I don't agree that the British champion doesn't mean anything. You ask any one of those riders there, it means everything to them.
Certainly for Chris Harris.
Chris Harris, it certainly does. Scotty Nichols, it's going to, because obviously he wants to get that 8th title. Yep. Brennan, I mean, that'd be a big feather in his cap.
Well, I do feel particularly sorry for Chris Harris because, I mean, Tom Brennan's a fantastic young rider. I mean, he's gonna get plenty of chances to race in the Grand Prix as a regular, never mind as a wild card. But Chris Harris has been in great form this season, and I think he was a very good outside bet to win that meeting, and he certainly was riding like he had a good chance of winning it. I mean, it was quite amusing when you saw the riders going in and out of the briefing room 3 or 4 times. I mean, you might as well. I mean, all it needed was the Benny Hill music stuck over the end of it, to be honest.
Oh, boy, I've not got that.
Have you not got it?
I haven't got it.
I'll teed you up for that as well.
But you need to get that.
Oh no.
But I mean, when they had the final meeting and he walked up, I mean, he was first out of the meeting, and he had a face like thunder. To be honest, I mean, I think he's put a statement on his Twitter account saying that he's not going to make any comments because that's the regulations that the British Speedway have, is that you can't sort of make comments about that on social media.
Duncan Pemberton's touched a little bit on that. He says, the bit I found amusing in the TV coverage was when all the riders are packing up in the pits and the 2 presenters weren't even sure it was off. Only in Speedway.
No, it was
Good evening to Elliot. He's had a change of plan. He's free tonight.
I'm free.
Mrs. has kicked him out again. Yeah.
But it just... I mean, I've never... I mean, it used to be 12 heats, didn't it, in league matches to get a declared result. I think they moved to 10 about 4 or 5 years ago.
It was about that, yeah. Which there was a big hoo-ha about.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't do anything about the forecast. Obviously, there's no, you can't obviously just click your fingers and say stop raining and it stops. But we wish we could sometimes.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I wish you could click it and say start raining.
Yeah.
But last week against Poole, for instance.
But ultimately, they should have. They clearly didn't have any sort of plan, and they sort of had to go in with the riders and sort of, as I say, thrash it out on the back of a cigarette packet, and it didn't really give a very good impression of British Speedway, especially when you consider as well. I mean, you've seen some of the comments from people who were there who were saying that they were standing around in the crowd for an hour and there was no announcements.
Right.
So nobody knew what was going on.
No.
And even when the riders were packing up at the end, they still hadn't. I don't think they still hadn't told the crowd. Even then, they were all still waiting and waiting for a meeting to start when most of the riders were driving out the car park.
It's not great, is it? Not great.
I've seen a couple of suggestions as to other things that they could have done to sort it out with. One of the interesting ones was you've got Bewley, Harris, and Brendan all tied on 8 points. Now Bewley's in the GP anyway because he's a regular. Yeah. But you possibly could have had a situation where Chris Harris and Tom Brennan, you go to Cardiff on the Friday before the practice. You have a runoff. Whoever wins the runoff gets the last spot.
That's an expensive night out for whoever doesn't win.
It's a compromise. They could have.
Well, there are two things that are. It depends which way you want to go. I mean, it's like you could have given Bomber his farewell at Cardiff. I mean, he's had, that win that he had at Cardiff in 2007 is still ingrained on anybody's memory that saw it. So that would have been quite nice. Or reward Brennan for actually being part of the very first team that's won the Speedway of Nations or that.
Well, Brennan obviously is there as the first mate in reserve, although it's not quite the same. You're there, but you're not there, and you're only going to get a race if somebody gets injured, which obviously you don't want.
So perhaps he should have been put in as the wild card, and then Adam Ellis given the first meet in reserve. But I mean, what should have happened is that they do it again.
Well, it does seem a little bit strange. They should have sort of made. I mean, it's only 2 weeks to go. It stays the British Grand Final 2 weeks before the Cardiff meeting, so if you're going to get a run off, you're going to get very little leeway of getting the meeting back in as a restage before Cardiff.
Yeah, can we just take that down a little bit? No, that's up. So Ben Clifton says, really got to feel for Bomber and Brennan. I'll still cheer Ellis next Saturday as I would any Brit. It's not his fault.
Absolutely.
We need to say that. But just feel Bomber has been robbed of a final farewell at Cardiff, or a young on the up-and-coming Brit getting an early taste of the big time. Nice a few years early. There's a lot of comments on this, so let's run through some of them.
There's another 20 after this.
Okay, right. Absolute farce that on Monday night, this is Craig Smead, the SCB insisted on a track grade every 3 heats. The meeting could have started on time at 7:30 or even moved to a 7 p.m. start. They could have done 16 heats in 60 minutes, I reckon. Then all the riders would have had 4 rides and a result declared, because Harris and Brennan would have rode against each other, and they wouldn't have had 3 riders on 8 points. Okay. The programme was made for TV, obviously, not for the riders or fans. I can't comment on that. I didn't really watch. I only watched the first 4 heats because of circumstances.
Well, I certainly don't like the fact. I've said this before. I don't like the fact that the British final is staged on a Monday night, because that to me should be the sort of the pinnacle meeting in British Speedway.
How many riders would then be going? Yeah, but I'm riding in Poland. Mind you, it's a national championship.
Yeah.
They have to honour it, don't they?
Oh yeah.
So. Even chaps from Spuddy, just a quick one for me, but absolutely bloody livid with Sheffield being off tomorrow. Had hotel and travel booked, which we can't get refunded, so even though no Speedway, get a night away in Sheffield with the missus. He's saying that as if it's in... I'm not commenting. I don't know.
No.
But to be fair, Sheffield's is a great place anyway. There's a lot to do in Sheffield. I mean, I was really impressed when I went up there a few weeks ago.
For a nice house in
Sheffield.
It's fantastic.
It's really was.
And they're very friendly people as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Couldn't they race the British final before Cardiff?
Well, they didn't give themselves much leeway to do it, did they?
And Pete Clark says, oh, hello, Pete. How you doing, mate? What was Ellis supposed to do? Refuse it?
Well, he couldn't really refuse. He could have.
It would, because we'd all be going, how dare he refuse?
Yeah. Would have been interesting as well if, I'm trying to think of the riders now, Richard Lawson had been given the pick there, because I think he's gone public as saying that he wasn't particularly fussed about taking the Cardiff meeting, which seemed a bit of a strange one, to be honest, but...
Jeff Daniels would like your opinion of Sam Masters' injury. Wait for his return or get a replacement? What is his injury, by the way?
I think it was his foot injury. He's obviously he aggravated it, and of course had a bad crash against Edinburgh, suffered a leg injury to add to that. Personally, I think they'll probably operate a hard replacement until he's fit. But I think if there's a possibility that if he's not going to be back before the end of the season, they may look at bringing in a short term or even replacement until the end of the season. It's obviously
if there's somebody.
That's the thing. Of course, if there's somebody, I mean, I suppose the obvious one would have been Nikolai Klimt, but of course he's now being fixed up by Kings Lynn. So,
well, watch this space. It really depends, I suppose, on how bad the injury actually is. David James says that he should have refused. He had 1 point from 3 rides. So he said he should refuse it. I don't think that's up to him. I think if he if I was in his situation, I probably wouldn't have refused it. I'd have gone, hey, thank you very much, and then took the race jacket sheepishly and ran before they decided to take it back off me.
Honestly, I wish him well for Cardiff, because I think he's going to find it tough going, but it's going to be a great experience for him to race in, in front of.
And he didn't get the chance last time when he was the actual British champion. So swings and roundabouts on that one, I suppose. On the British final, for all intents and purposes, that meeting never happened now, so they needed a wild card, and the defending champion going into that meeting was probably the fairest result. Duncan Pemberton, myself, like a lot of others, probably never gave the wild card a thought. However, on reflection, Ellis should have been given the nod well before the meeting was arranged. End of the day, COVID changed the wild card rules around this time.
If I was being ultra fussy, when Adam Ellis won the British final last year, we knew there wasn't going to be a Cardiff Grand Prix, so we obviously knew going into
whoever
that
won
meeting.
it knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, so...
The British title still has meaning, otherwise Bewley wouldn't be there, as he doesn't need a wild card. Good point.
Fair enough.
What was Ellis supposed to do? Refuse it, then get handed wild card? Embarrassing, says David James. He looked embarrassed.
Yeah.
Craigsmead, did anybody see the footage of Harris coming out of the press room?
Absolutely.
He looked fuming, nearly took the door off its hinges. Eurosport said that all riders were in agreement. I certainly don't think they was. Why couldn't it have been rerun tomorrow night? I understand there's 2 meetings in Premiership, but I'm sure there's a gap in fixtures somewhere, and the fixtures jigged about to, thank you very much, to accommodate the restaging of British final. Could they not have moved the Championship pairs meeting on Friday before Cardiff and then rerun a British final then? I think moving a lot of these meetings on short notice is going to make it difficult for riders that are riding here, there and everywhere. So...
Yeah, I said before. I mean, I do feel bitterly sad for Bomber because obviously this Cardiff has been, even though it's obviously gone past the 20 years now with COVID, this obviously is being built. It was the 20th anniversary of the first Cardiff GP in 2001, and his win there in 2007 remains probably the most famous Cardiff win of the lot. Not just the fact that he was a British winner. The way that it happened as well. It's still one of the most iconic Speedo races in living memory.
It's always the race I go to when people say to me, well, what is Speedway?
Yeah.
I show them that race.
Yeah.
Because that's some Speedway.
Yeah, maybe the romantic side of me would have loved to have seen Bomber get one last shot at riding it. I mean, it'll still be at Cardiff anyway because all of the previous winners are coming over for this one. They've all been invited, and I think they're all going to be paraded before the meeting. But it would have been nice if Bomber would have had the chance to say, yeah, but I'm going to ride in the meeting now as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he may have struggled, we don't know. I mean, obviously his recent Grand Prix form hasn't been great.
No.
Although he's had but the one thing you can say about him, definitely he would give, I'm not saying Adam Ellis wouldn't, but, wouldn't give 100%, but certainly you can say Bomber would have done without a shadow of a doubt.
And would have had a big support.
Following, without doubt, yeah.
So, Jeff Daniels, the guest situation is getting ludicrous. 5 to 6. I started, so I'll finish. 5 to 6 guests per team is not good. We will probably be coming on to that later tonight. Rich Thomas, let's be honest, it sums up British Speedway a treat. I'm guessing he's still talking about
British final,
Dave Twine, but Brennan beat Bewley on the night.
He did.
But did he beat Chris Harris?
He didn't. He hadn't ridden against him. That's the problem.
So that's, Bewley sort of neither here nor there is in the wild card situation anyway. Yes, okay, we'll touch on this one. Ben Barker's situation is going to be interesting. All should be revealed later this week. I think it's best that we don't say an awful lot about this because I've read so many different things, and the truth is we don't know. So let's just wait and see what happens. Terry Hall, my thing is they knew the rain was due. Why did they not bite the bullet and reschedule before any wheel was turned in anger? Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. As I said,
what we don't know is whether they tried to.
Well, as I said, they did it on Saturday night in the Speedway Nations. They rushed through it because they knew the forecast was bad, and they told the TV, they told all the people that were all the broadcasting partners that they were going to do that as well. So there's no reason why the BSBL couldn't have done that. I don't think.
No.
But unfortunately, is it a case really of the tail wags the dog?
Team GB were unlucky on Saturday. They simply chose the wrong gate. I unfortunately, or fortunately, was in Stratford over the weekend, so I still haven't seen exactly what happened.
You haven't got TVs in Stratford?
No,
Ah.
obviously not.
I think they've got electricity. I know that. I can remember I was there
They've
once.
got a lot of geese, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
As that
They
cut on my
taste
finger
horrible, they do.
will testify to.
There is a. I think they did pick the wrong gates in the final.
Did they have pick of the gates then?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I mean, it was quite ironic that the two British rides in the final don't ride in the British League, and the two Aussies that ride in it do ride in the British League. But Australia, to be fair, you got to hold your hands up to them. They did ride well throughout the meeting. But it was disappointing. Obviously, a massive blow losing Ty Woofenden, who of course who injured his back practicing before the meeting, which sort of begs the question: well, why didn't the team call up another rider? They did this in the under-19s meeting the day before with Leon Flint,
Right.
So they raced with one rider less than everybody else. So
It's not an easy place to get to, is it? And then you've got machinery and everything to transport, possibly, so that the logistics of it might have been the reason.
I mean, to be fair, they could have maybe had someone on standby and said, just in case,
Yeah.
we can get you over here, So
But I mean, let's just be. A couple of years ago, we'd have gone, well, we got silver.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah.
We've won
was
it,
quite
and then
surprised.
come second. I think
I was quite
you know,
surprised
that's-
at the lack of euphoria over that.
the one thing I will say though, I mean, the crowd was awful. It was a really, really poor crowd. I was quite
Yeah, I
surprised by
watched
that.
some of that, yeah.
Big speedway country like Denmark hosting
Yeah.
nation. The Danes had a good chance of winning it. Hans Nielsen's last major event as the Danish team manager, because I think he won't certainly won't do another Speedway Nations. Whether he'll be still in charge for the World Cup next summer, we don't know. But I was really surprised at how poor the crowd was. I mean, the stadium looked pretty bare.
It did, yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
let's be honest. I mean, Denmark haven't really pulled any trees up or anything since while Hans Nielsen's been in charge, have they?
They've been a disappointing, haven't they?
So-
Really.
Jim Turrell, why do they ride such important meetings in the wettest place in the country? The east is the driest place. It's like a desert. Okay, decent track, I suppose. I think a lot of it's got to do with the fact that when they financed the thing, they wanted to call it the British National Track.
Yeah.
And part of that is having events like that helped fund, them be able to get the track out. I think. Well, somebody told me that they sort of put the sword of Damocles over British Speedway with it a little bit. I'm not going to tell you who told me that.
Oh, blind.
No. I might off air.
Little tease.
I might off air. Sorry, Matt, but when Wolves had the British final, it was on a Monday.
I know, I didn't agree with that either. Although I think Wolves obviously were hamstrung by the fact that they can only run on a Monday night. I mean, to be honest, the last few British finals at Monmouth, I didn't go to them because it was getting to the point where it was finishing at about 11:30 at night. And as much as I love my Speedway, I don't want to be watching Speedway at that time of the night. So.
Yeah, I remember because the last heat kept getting crashes and because it's important.
That's right. But
No,
Bellevue for me. Bellevue, as far as I'm aware, they could change it any. But as far as I'm aware, it's the television that want it on the Monday night.
Monday.
So it just doesn't seem. You could have had. If that had been on a Saturday, that place would have been packed out. It was a good crowd anyway. To be fair, but
I would have liked to have gone, but it's a fair distance to go on a Monday night.
Yeah, when you've got to work the next day, or
particularly when you're on a motorbike and it's going to rain.
Yeah, it's not very pleasant. I don't think, is it? So.
Masters has dislocated one shoulder and broken the other from the Edinburgh crash. That's not nice.
Nah.
That's crikey. Pete Clark says, "Get well soon, Zane Kennedy. Worst crash I've seen in a long time."
It was
God,
an
that was
awful
horrible.
crash.
Have you seen it, Chris?
Yeah, saw it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was.
Yeah. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, thank God he got up from it.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened, to be honest. But again, it's another case of a rider loses control of a bike and the bike just takes off,
Just
and they
took off, yeah.
can't do anything to control him. Seems to be happening too many times, because it was a fall as well that happened unchallenged. There was nobody else anywhere near him. So
Yeah.
Sam's irreplaceable. RR won't cover Sam's points with his collarbone and shoulder injuries, and then I can't see anymore.
I don't
sorry.
think it will, to be honest. But,
It would make sense to get his foot operation done. If it were me, I'd be on the blower to Waffy or JT once their Polish commitments end. But guests limited, and RR will not cover for Sam in this team, so it could be nervy for Wolves till he's back. I think, yeah.
yeah,
There's no argument there. I'm trying to get through all these as quick as I
Yeah.
can, but they keep rolling up. It's
Keep
brilliant.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Matt, Sam Nastas' collarbone is in Poland with Ryan Douglas today, arm in sling. Jacob Thorsall, possible short-term replacement.
that certainly wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if they go and bring back a former rider. Certainly wouldn't be.
Do you think Ty Waffender might be interested, given his form's not great?
Possibly, I think it's unlikely, but I mean, obviously he came back to the club before when we won the title in 2016. I don't think it was pleased Bellevue too much. It certainly didn't please them last time he came back. But
Sam Masters won't be back for a while until mid-September, says Elliot Hunt. He needs to ensure he rests up, comes back fit. Going to be hard on Monday with RR. Elliot Hunt, Birmingham have arranged some extra fixtures. Yes, they have.
yeah, we'll be talking about that.
If we can get a word in edgewise, we'll be talking.
We've actually, there must be some sort of record. I think we've gone 28 minutes without the word Birmingham being mentioned.
And then you had to stop it.
Yeah.
According to Fuzzy on Twitter, two teams will not see the Danish League season out. Okay. Which teams, I wonder? Leon Flint posted, all the riders agreed on Alice wildcard, but having seen Harris on Monday, can't see it. I don't think it was the wildcards as such that he was worried about. He wanted to be British champion, wasn't he? So those the date. We'll just put those dates out. 17th of Birmingham, 17th of August, I presume. Yep. Birmingham versus Coventry. That was the rearranged. So hopefully there will be a few Coventry supporters for that one, and then we obviously got the 31st of August, the British under 21 final.
I guess it depends on what team Coventry have out, I suppose. They'll have to have a bona fide team of riders who have ridden for Coventry. So.
Yeah. 7th of September, and God knows what team we'll put out.
Yeah.
More on that later. The Alan Graham Memorial versus Cradley Heathens. What a brilliant idea. Looking forward to that meeting. It says on the blurb, Birmingham riders past, present and future.
Oh,
Now, that's an interesting thing, isn't it?
Yep. That obviously offers hope for 2023.
What do people who went to the British final feel about getting a £10 discount on the restaged meeting? Is it going to be restaged? I didn't think it.
I think it is going to be restaged later in the year.
Not too bad if you live local, but was talking to somebody who travelled up from Dorset in the concourse when waiting for meeting to be abandoned. Can't see them travelling up again, hotels, etc., unless they potentially move it to a Saturday night meeting.
Well, the interesting thing, of course, is if it is going to be restaged, will it be covered on the telly?
Oh, this is interesting. 5 heats gone and Oxford up by 8 against Poole.
it was 9 minutes ago, so it could be
might be different. We'll have a look at that
probably
in a minute.
by now.
Birmingham did amazing at Plymouth last night after losing by 10 points to pull it back to a draw with 2 heats left before only losing by 2 points. Superb job. It certainly was an interesting match. I didn't see it. I need to see if I can get the stream. I mean, we should talk a little bit about that. I know there's quite a lot of stuff going on, but the situation that Birmingham finds itself in at the moment highlights the absence of riders.
Yep.
We currently have one rider, and the rest of the team's made up by guests and RR.
Terrible.
And it's bad, but what the hell can they do about it? And Plymouth are in exactly the same position as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you think Birmingham were. I mean, it was 10. I mean, the gap was 10 points after 8-10, and it was a really, really good fight back from Birmingham. Guy Thompson 9-1 from his rides, from his 5 rides. Ashley Morris 3-1 from 5. Sorry. Klaus Wissen, Brotnickel, I should say. Brotnickel 9 from 5. Justin Sedgman 8-1 from 5. Lee Complin 9-1 from 7.
That's a great return from Lee Complin.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is somebody going to sign him for
for
Premiership?
And James Pearson 6-1 from 6 rides, including of course winning the reserves race, and that would have been a big burst for him because it's probably not the sort of track he's used to, a small track like Plymouth, but. No, it was a very good result and a well-deserved point, I think, for Birmingham. And that's going to give them a huge boost going into the closing weeks of the season.
Is it really? It's going to give that bunch of riders a huge boost.
Well, it's going to give the fans a boost, I think.
It certainly has given the fans a boost.
To get some points on the board.
It's just a horrible situation we're in. I'm hoping that Ash is able, because Ashley's starting to show some form as well.
He's had a tough time, hasn't he? And it's not through lack of effort, but he just can't seem to stay on the bike, can he? That's his problem at the moment.
But he's starting to show some form, and hopefully Steph will be back as well. Nice to see James Pearson in the points.
Yeah, it was. It's 21 apiece now, by the way, at Paul.
I could do with Paul winning that.
You haven't gone for a Paul win, have you?
I haven't gone for an anything win.
No.
I forgot to do it. So
well, he's forgot to do the Wednesday ones. Obviously, we'll.
We'll catch you.
Yeah. Okay. Totally agree with what happened at the Speedway of Nations should have happened at British Final for sure. Don't understand that one. Anybody?
Rushing through it and not having.
Russia. Okay, right. Of course. Okay, fine. Yeah, absolutely. Sweden should have won that semi-final against Australia.
I was going to have a chat with you about this one, but obviously you wouldn't have seen it, would you? I thought it was. Personally, I thought it was the right decision. It was a clash between Max Frick and Oliver Berntsson. I thought the rider went down on his own. If I'm being honest, I know Berntsson wasn't like it, considering his the volley of words he shouts at the camera in English. I should say as well. But they did very well, Sweden. I've got to say as well, when Simon's just pulled it there, the Czechs were brilliant. I mean, at one point the Czechs looked like they were in the box seat to win it. They really, really were impressive. I mean, it's not sort of tracks that the Czechs would normally have done well on, to be honest. Clearly, the big disappointment was Poland. I mean, they were never in it at all. Really,
That's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what it is with the Poles, they're very good in the World Cup, of course, but there's not actually any team riding involved in that because it's the one rider out on his own.
Right.
Where they've got to ride as a team, they don't seem. I mean, they haven't won the Speedway Nations, and they've not even really been anywhere near it, to be honest.
No. I don't think there is no reason why the Team Cup can't be done. The format can't be contrived that you can have team riding. Why does it have to be all 4 teams in every heat? You can have this team against this team for that heat, this team against that team for that heat. And by the end of the night, all teams will have ridden against each other, and then you still get, it's proper team speedway. Then, otherwise, how is it a team cup?
Well, we had a competition in British Speedway years ago called the Craven Shield, and it was I think it was a 3-team tournament, but they had 2 riders from each team out in each race. So whether that's something they could do.
Apparently, Brost have pulled out of the Danish league. So that might make some riders available for us. The decision has been taken on the basis of the financial situation in the Nordish Elite Speedway. Okay. Is Webby auditioning for Santa? Yes. Next question. As I said in the beginning, the National Stadium should
During the
have
war.
had a roof over the track despite costs. And I did see a sign, a message that apparently it's general knowledge that all Mancunians have webbed feet.
Oh,
So
not you said this, was it?
I didn't say that, no.
Yeah. Can I just say as well? I mean, there's a lot of people who've said over the last few years that the British Grand Prix should be moved away from Cardiff and to Bellevue. Now, Monday is probably exactly the reason why it needs to stay at Cardiff, because you've always got the insurance factor with Cardiff with the fact that you've got a roof over it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
plus you wouldn't get 40,000 into Bellevue with the best will in the world.
Anthony Bailey disagrees with me that Ash is starting to show form. Okay. We will have to disagree on that one.
It's staying on the bike that's been the problem, isn't it?
It has been a problem for him, but I mean that last meeting when he came off a couple of times, their riders were coming off as well. I'm talking about the meeting before the pool one. Their riders were coming off as well in the same spot. So we know that there was.
There's an argument, and I think you could probably say the same thing with Stefan Nielsen as well. He's not riding enough.
Yes,
because he's only doing the one league.
Yeah, that's exactly what Anthony Bailey's actually just said. He says, I love Ash, he desperately needs more rides, same as Stefan. Absolutely. Strange thing at Poole tonight.
Yeah.
Full 1 to 7 for both teams, not a guest in sight. Pete Clark says, with 1 or 2 teams folding, does that mean Klaus Vissing is available?
I think there's more chance of Christoph Kasperzak coming back to Bergen than there is of Klaus Vissing, to be honest. So.
He'd be good at this level.
Hey, we've caught up 39
Yay.
minutes. It's a record.
Wow, and have we got time to talk a quick talk about Wolves? What's been happening at Wolves?
Yeah.
Sam Masters, of course.
Oh, Sam Masters and not a lot else really. Yeah, obviously we send our best wishes to Sam. Obviously thanks to everyone for reporting out. It's a collarbone injury, not a leg injury. He had got the injury to his foot that he's been carrying for quite a while. But I mean, he's had such a great season, really, and he's really blossomed into a genuine number one in the top league, and that's a massive blow for Wolves.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
he's a nice fellow as well, Sam.
Yes, yeah, and welcome to our world.
Yeah,
welcome to the Brummies world. I mean, I don't know what to say about Birmingham. We got trounced against Poole, but we.
Interestingly, though, looking at the comments from a lot of the Poole fans, are saying that what a cracking meeting.
It was a good
last Friday,
meeting. It was a good meeting. Yeah. It was. So, you know. What can you do when you've got so many riders short? You're just dependent on the guests that are available. Hope Josh Pickering's available.
Yeah. And the club, of course, obviously signing Lee Complin as well. So
have they? I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, they have signed him.
They have signed him. As far as I'm aware, they have
that.
signed him. Yeah. So
Brilliant. Well, you know, he got 9 points at Plymouth. Why wouldn't you?
Real. Obviously, he's had a few spells away from Speedway, but he's very, very highly rated. I know that. I mean, I think Tony Rickardson just said that one step when he started, he rated him as a future world champion. That's I mean, and he didn't dish out praise like that willy-nilly. So, but
anyone mention that Anders Rowe is back at Foxhall? I thought Anders Rowe hadn't got any. No, let's not go down that road.
We've done this before. So.
Let's not go down that road
Don't
again.
upset him.
I've got a lot of time for Anders Rowe, actually.
Yeah.
I think he's a cracking little rider.
Yeah, he was brilliant when he came on the show.
He was
last
fantastic,
year, wasn't
wasn't he? Yeah. Pete Clark says Complin was excellent at Poole. He certainly was. And he rides Birmingham well.
He always rode Birmingham well when he rode there
For Stoke, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot. Some of the races between him and Jason Lyons were worth the admission fee on their own, particularly around Stoke, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So, not much else to say about Birmingham. Not much else to say about
Wolves either.
Wolves.
So.
Well done, GB, for getting silver medal.
Yep.
And
unfortunately, my tablet's now decided to do an update, so I'm a bit.
Okay.
But we're coming up to 22, so
let's get on with the Nigel Pearson Prediction League.
Okay, I'll give you an update on what it looks like
I don't want to know.
moment.
Well, you've actually made a bit of ground up, haven't you? So
have I?
Yeah. So you might not.
I'm still in 17th place.
You might actually finish 16th. So all to play for.
And then after this week, all to
good
play
day.
for.
Good day for you on Saturday, actually, because you went for Australia and you also got the Leicester red car result spot on as well. So.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
When I was putting the list together, I was thinking, crikey, the comeback's on here, but it seems to have stalled a little bit the last few matches. So
yeah. Well, I got Oxford Pool right as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we?
You can also see that I'm actually the leading presenter at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm on top of Matt Book. Excuse the.
Did he say he was the leading prat?
You sounded like that, I must admit. So. Well, we do seem to be sort of drifting off a little bit now, don't we? So
Yeah. Bit like the people listening to this program.
yeah.
Right then, so I do believe it's my turn to start, isn't it?
Yep.
So, okay.
Obviously, Sheffield Wolves is off tomorrow, so
Yeah, forget that one. Sorry,
I can't actually read that. So
well, I've got them written down here. So,
Okay.
I'll make it a bit bigger for you.
so the first one is Kings Lynn against Ipswich in the
Kings
Premiership.
Lynn versus Ipswich. I mean, they've just signed Nikolai Clint, haven't they?
Yeah. By the way, he's posted his already, so
Yeah.
so we won't
Oh,
be.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you still got to say it over.
No, because I'll remember what I've done.
Have you got them?
He's
I haven't
got
written
them.
them down.
No,
No. Well, I've got them, but they're on here. So
Right.
Yeah,
I can't see it. at the
It'll be just
moment.
you, you two then. Just you
So
two.
Kings Lynn versus Ipswich. I'm going to say Kings Lynn by 4.
This will be interesting actually because you won't be able to copy me like you do.
We've never copied you.
I've gone the same score on, but I've gone the other way around. I've got
Okay.
Ipswich by 4.
Yeah, I did. I'm basing that very much on what they did against Wolves, to be honest.
Yep. Okay.
But-
Next one I've got is the Glasgow against Birmingham on Friday.
Ooh, it's difficult, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
we don't know what the team's going to be. I'm going to say Glasgow by 16. I don't want to say that, and I'm probably being generous to Birmingham. But hey, go on.
I've gone Glasgow by 18.
Okay, we're not that far off then.
Are you not doing the British Youth now?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
we do. Obviously, we just do the team on. We don't do unless it's obviously we did the British final, and of course we will do Cardiff next week. So the next one is Edinburgh against Plymouth. It's a very long trip if you're a Plymouth fan. But of course, they are doing the third turn for the Northern Tour this week.
Yeah.
and
That's
so
got to be the longest trip, surely.
I'm going to say Edinburgh by 10.
I've gone Edinburgh by 16 on that one.
Okay.
Okay, next up in the Jubilee League, it's Redcar against Scunthorpe.
I'm going to say Redcar by 6.
I've gone Redcar by 10. Okay, next one. Dropping down into the National League, it's Bellevue Colts against Kent.
I'm going to say Kent by 4.
I've gone Bellevue by 8 on that one. Sticking in the National League, it's Armadale against Plymouth.
Sugar.
I've gone Armadale by 8.
Armadale by 10.
Okay. Berwick against Plymouth in the Championship is next.
Berwick versus Plymouth. And I'm really sorry to say this, Berwick, but I want you to lose. Desperate not to get that wooden spoon. So I'm going to say Plymouth by 6.
Would have fancied Plymouth there up until a few weeks ago, actually, but I've gone Berwick by 10.
Okay. Leicester versus
Scunthorpe.
Leicester by 12.
I've gone Leicester by 20 on that one.
Okay, well, that's the Bullets versus
Plymouth in the NDL.
Plymouth are getting a lot of mentions tonight. I'll say the Bullets by 8.
I've gone Berwick by 34. So
34.
what did you say? Plymouth by 8?
No, I said the Bullets by
Right,
8.
okay,
So,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay, next up we've got Wolves against Peterborough in the
It's all
Premiership.
over for Peterborough this year, isn't it?
Mm.
But they could still do some damage to you guys.
They could still, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, a lot of it's going to depend on who's going to be Wolves' number one.
Yeah. So sure.
Well, I've gone Wolves by 10.
Wolves
I
by
think
10.
that Peterborough will get close, but
I'm going to say Wolves by 8.
okay. Next up is Bellevue against Ipswich. And top of the table clash, and it's not on the telly.
Well, are you surprised? Bellevue versus Ipswich. 2 very, very different tracks.
Yeah.
And obviously going to play a part into how the different teams feel going into the playoffs.
Ipswich are going to fancy the chances, I think, of getting something out of that because they've got a good top. Obviously, their top 2 in Jason Doyle and Danny King, both of them right.
Both
that
of
track.
them right,
Well,
Bellevue,
Danny
well,
King's
yeah.
obviously won the British final there, isn't he? So
I'm going to say Bellevue by 4.
I've gone for a draw.
Yeah. I don't think anyone that's predicted a draw so far has actually got one, have
No,
they?
Tom Howell's got one last week.
Did he? Ah.
Yeah, he got the Oxford Bull match last night. Actually, that was a draw.
Right.
I just like some eagle-eyed viewers have noticed that I had next Wednesday's fixtures. I've
Obviously, we won't do those ones. So,
I've removed those.
Yeah.
so the last one is last but one. Sorry, Sheffield against Kings Lynn. I suppose a lot of it's going to depend on whether Sheffield are going to be able to run.
What's the situation with that?
But from what I've read, apparently they were doing some work on the dog track and they've managed to damage the speedway fence, so they can't stage the meeting. Seems to be a lot of things going on at Sheffield at the moment.
Well, I'm going to say Sheffield by 16.
I've gone Sheffield by 14. Okay, and last but not least, in the NDL, it's Plymouth
Of course it's
against Berwick.
In the NDL, I'm not. I'll say Plymouth by 6.
I've gone Plymouth by 10.
Okay.
And that concludes
This.
So if you haven't already, put your results up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can put them on the page, on the group. Could even message Matt. I don't know. People do message you, don't they? So
Occasionally, yeah.
yeah.
It's normally the taxman.
I know, yeah.
Okay, so we've got Cardiff to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sort of track that somebody like Dan Bewley will have much more knowledge of. The type of the size of it and everything. Could he do what will always be known as a Chris Harris?
Well, there's certainly a lot of confidence from the last Grand Prix. In Gorzoff, he rode really well in that
Didn't
one.
he? Yeah.
Really, really was impressive. I suppose in a sense he's got nothing to lose going into the meeting. He's going to have and he's going to have obviously the crowd on his side. There's a decent chance we could get a British winner, I think. It's been a very unpredictable series so far. We've had different winners in all the Grand Prix.
Ty's desperate to win it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I think that's missing from Ty's cabinet so far, isn't it? A home GP win. He's been close on a couple of occasions, but just hasn't quite been able to do it.
No.
The last Cardiff, obviously in 2019, he went into it on the back of a really poor season. And he had a poor night that night, and he was really, really low after the meeting. I think it really did frustrate him that he wasn't able to ride his best in that meeting, because I think he'd pinned all his hopes really on getting a big result in Cardiff.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly mention regarding Alexa as well, because I'd forgotten last week. I managed to get us on Alexa and another what are they called?
platforms?
No, podcast, media, echo things, and things like that. So there you go. So,
Smart speakers.
Smart speakers, and it's strange. Just trying to get a simple word out like that. Yeah. So if you just ask your smart speaker, Alexa, play at the Speedway Tavern. And it should play.
It does. I've checked it
Yeah,
out.
I've tried
good,
that
good,
as well.
good
It's a really good thing to do, yeah.
It's apparently the kids don't get scared because they can't see our faces.
Well, that's always a bonus, isn't it?
It is a bonus for
That's why we hide behind these mics. They're not
Yeah.
actually on.
No. I can't see anybody, which is lucky for me.
Steve Morgan says, been to every Cardiff GP after Bomber won, so me not going this year guarantees a British winner.
Yeah, I know people who the year after Bomber won, it was the first time they went, and they've been ever since. You know, it hadn't appealed to them before, but they were so blown away by watching that on the telly they thought, I've got to go and sample this for real. Yeah. Obviously, you haven't sampled the Cardiff experience yet,
but I have sampled the Wembley experience.
Yeah.
So I went to the 1986.
81 was it? Was it the one that Pennell won the last one?
One that Pennell won. Yeah.
Was that a full stadium? Was it big?
Was it? I don't know whether
it was absolutely.
Yeah,
it was brim.
Because I would guess in the 80s that would have been like a 90 to 100,000 people.
90,000. 90,000 full stadium. It was something
incredible.
else. Yeah.
Well, my dad's been to both of them, but he prefers Cardiff.
And not lots of Poles travelling to it or any of that. Mostly
there were plenty of Poles at the last Cardiff GP. I know that because it felt like you were in Warsaw, not Cardiff. So.
Dave Twine apparently has seen Bomber do it. Well, I think you should keep that to yourself. To be honest.
It was a great night though, that 2007 Grand Prix, because all the way through the meeting you just had this feeling he's going to do this, you know.
But to do it in the fashion that he did, which was basically the last corner, I was jumping up and down. I was literally jumping up and down on my settee. Yeah. Because also that was in the first year that Birmingham came back into Speedway, so it was, you know.
Yeah, there's that win and obviously the 2005 round when Tony Rickardson did the Wall of Death, which still is. I mean, I was right on that corner. It's still one of those things. You did that just happen? Yeah. And even now, I mean, you obviously say you always, you know, if you want to show somebody what Speedo is all about, you watch that. You obviously show that 2007 one. I mean, for me, probably the 2005 one with Rickardson riding the wall, right? Literally riding on the fence. You know, I mean, it's not. He could have, you know, if you'd been on the other side of the fence, you probably could have shook his hand as he was going along. So it was just such an incredible feeling. Watching that
100,000 apparently Wembley 81.
Well, it was full. I thought it was 90,000 was the crowd limit at Wembley.
I don't know whether it was 100,000. I know some of the Polish World Finals in the 70s were 100,000, but
there wasn't a seat left anyway.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
Well, there wouldn't have been any seats then, would there? Would have been.
Yeah, there were seats.
Oh yeah,
Wembley had seats. Barry Lounge says, I've been to both and Wembley wins. Okay, well,
old Wembley, I think.
Yeah, I don't know whether the new Wembley would.
I think the thing about Cardiff as well is it's, you know, Wembley's obviously
iconic.
Wembley's iconic, but it's also, I mean, certainly then it was pretty much you had to get a train out from London, or if you wanted, you know. But Cardiff is literally right bang slap in the middle of the city. You've got all the pubs there, all the restaurants. You know, you can go to the castle. You can go to the castle. You can go when they're running, because obviously there is going to be a train strike next week, isn't there? So.
It is a question for people to ponder in the last 5 minutes or so. The best stadium you've been to ever
for Speedway, or for
old and new.
I'm going to say Wembley.
And put into the fact,
how can you beat Wembley?
Atmospheres as well, and facilities.
How can you beat Wembley? I mean,
have you ever watched a meeting abroad?
I have not. No.
I mean, I obviously went to watch the last round of the World Championship in Norway in 2003. It was a great experience, although it wasn't really. It was an indoor stadium, and it was sort of. It was like I think it was an ice hockey. I don't know whether it was an ice hockey stadium or it might have stayed as the Winter Olympics there a few years earlier, and it was it was quite basic, to be fair, but it was a great experience. But I mean, for me, it's got to be Cardiff as a overall. But I suppose if you're saying proper speedway track, you know,
Somebody has mentioned Bellevue Hyde Road.
I can imagine some of the
Hyde
meetings.
Road was great. Hyde Road was
I
great.
can imagine some of the meetings in Poland over the last few years ago. Maybe were quite atmospheric.
I'd love to go to a Polish league meeting, I must admit.
I would as well.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a few to catch up on. The crowd at the 81 World Final at Wembley was 92,500, says. Okay. Tickets are still available for a night with Greg Hancock on Thursday, the 11th of August at Cleveland Arms, Wolverhampton, round the corner from Munmore Green. Starts at 7 p.m. Can we go back the other direction? Because there was something there that I can't remember. I'm doing both days at Cardiff, done it every year for a few now, taking my friend for the first time, looking forward to the double header, seeing under 21 lads too, and staying on the Cardiff Bay. Cardiff Bay is great. Heat 10, Poole against Oxford,
28,
32,
Whoa,
Oxford
that's
4 up.
That's a coupon booster, because I don't think anybody's gone for an Oxford win. So.
No.
And if anybody has, it's probably me.
Yes.
But that's the great thing. I mean, what's what Elliot said there about Cardiff. I mean, you know, I know a lot of people who speedo fans who they sort of don't see each other for the whole year, and that's their chance to meet up. So it's the whole social Cardiff. I know a lot of people don't question the Cardiff track. I mean, the Cardiff track isn't the best track in the world. I'm the first one to admit that. Although I have seen.
I guess it depends on whether you're talking about the track or the stadium.
The whole weekend.
package,
Cardiff really is for me is about the whole weekend. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if the meeting's brilliant, it's a bonus. But the experience
it's
really.
Speedway, it's UK Speedway night, day out, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
At
is.
the moment,
It is.
Katowice in 76 at 100,000.
Peter Collins' win, of course.
Melbourne Stadium was pretty good. And Steve Morgan said it felt like 100,000 to a 9-year-old. Dudley Wood on a Dudley Wolves trophy night was electric. The National Stadium and Warsaw, great atmosphere and great view all round, have sat in both upper tier and front rows, and the tickets are a fraction of what they are at Cardiff. I went to the 96 final. Oops.
76
When
final.
PC won it, and 133,000.
133.
Biggest crowd ever.
And obviously it was all standing there, I think. So
Jesus. Yeah, but can you imagine the atmosphere?
Bydgoszcz is one of the best tracks to see a GP. They have improved the stadium, so hopefully we'll get back there. As
I
the
just
track
wish there was.
is
I wish there was a
awesome.
Grand Prix still at Bydgoszcz, because I mean you've obviously seen watch meetings on the telly
Yes.
at Bydgoszcz. It's a fantastic racetrack.
And apparently, the building company doing Swindon have applied for 5 new building regulations.
Craig C. Smith says if you could put the Bellevue track inside Cardiff, it would be the best in the world. Probably would be, you know. But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can understand why people would love to see a Grand Prix at Bellevue, because I would as well. But
it needs to improve.
it's not big enough,
Yeah.
and it hasn't got the insurance policy of having something on the top of it.
It'd be nice for a second GP though.
I think there's a deal with the Cardiff GP that they can only have one British Grand Prix, and it's got to be at Cardiff. I've read that. I don't know whether it's true, but that's something I've read.
To calm everyone down, just give Rory Schlein his wild card to Cardiff.
Would Rory come back from Australia just for that? You bet he would.
Oh yeah, he would.
Absolutely
and
would.
Says Craig Slide.
I know that for a fact.
Craig Schlein. Really, I think we've got to finish there, haven't we?
I think we have. Yeah,
We've got to
we're
finish
more or
there.
less done.
Well done to England in the Commonwealth Games, I feel like saying, and well done to
done
the
to the
England
Lionesses as well, just,
Lionesses.
yeah,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Oh God, yeah.
It's finally come home. Does that mean we can stop singing that bloody song now?
Oh God, I hope so.
Take care, everyone. Have a great week, and see
back
you
next Tuesday.
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 Back to the
Remember
next week.
Tuesday.
Good night.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Welcome to